Welcome back to the Two Marks and a Spark wrestling podcast or YouTube show or whatever we are this week. I'm Ben. This is the show. We're going to talk about wrestling. Uncle Russ is here.
Greetings.
Sometimes I think he wishes he wasn't, mostly because I'm here. But, we don't have to talk about that. This is a show where we talk about professional wrestling, so let's do that promptly. Russ, we got a lot to talk about, but not a lot to review, if that makes any sense.
There was a lot of wrestling on TV, but not necessarily a whole lot happened.
So I guess we start with the news that came out Friday or Saturday, actually, as we're recording this. I don't know why I said Friday. So it came out Saturday that AEW and WBD are finalizing a deal, this via the Observer, by the way, that they are finalizing a deal for a third weekly wrestling show. What the fuck?
Well, we got Dynamite, Rampage. I wonder what they're going to call this one.
The Boom. I don't know. Oh, wait, no. And in like 2 weeks, we have AEW All Access, whatever the fuck that's going to be.
Right. That looks to be very skippable to me.
Rampage is skippable. I'm sure that won't be any better. I don't know. The rumor, according to Andrew Zarian of the Matman Wrestling podcast, he said that it is believed amongst people that it would air Saturdays at 6:05 Eastern.
Well,
boy, that time slot sucks.
That's a nod to tradition that I like.
Yeah, but that time slot nowadays sucks.
Yeah, it does. But, that was the place to be back in the day if you were a wrestling fan for WCW Saturday Night, the mothership.
Russ, I don't know if you've noticed this, but it's not 1992, and
I have noticed.
This is not WCW, thank God.
That's right. It's not 1992, and my body reminds me of that every time I get out of bed in the morning.
Little facts that we get from Russ every week. I live for that. Anyway, so I don't know what to make of this. I mean, if you didn't already think that they were going to be staying with Warner when this TV deal is up, this third show should tell you everything you need to know. Folks, AEW is not leaving Turner.
Nope.
Not a shot.
Nope.
Unless they get a better deal from, I don't know, who would they leave for? Fox, maybe? If Fox drops WWE?
I don't look for that to happen.
Well, if this WWE buyout goes through and it isn't Fox who gets them, which Fox isn't going to get them.
It's all kind of up in the air right now, but it's fun to speculate. I'm just wondering, Tony Khan has so many wrestlers under contract that we never see on television. I'm sure he's got enough wrestlers to fill up a third program.
I mean, this is only going to be an hour show, so it's going to be,
yeah.
What are they going to call it? Rampage 2 Electric Boogaloo?
I don't know how it makes sense, because the ratings for Dynamite are, there's maybe once in the last year where they got over 1 million, and usually they're way below that.
No, they hover around 1 million.
Ratings for Rampage are in the toilet.
Oh, yeah.
How are we going to get a significant number of people to tune in for another hour
on a Saturday?
On Saturday at 6:05,
in a shitty time slot.
Traditionally, that was always considered death for ratings for any TV show. If you want to bury a show, put it on Saturday night when nobody's home.
Fuck.
Well, I'm predicting that we probably will decide not to review it, but I will probably take a look at it out of curiosity. I'll probably record it so I can fast forward through it.
Oh, speaking of fast forward through it, so we're not going to talk too much about Raw, mostly because I don't have the hair nor the mental capacity, but I do want to talk about something because this interests me. So I didn't see the full report. I'm pulling it up here. Uh, Wrestling Inc. reported on Friday that they have filed to oppose the trademark for AEW's new video game.
Okay.
What?
Why?
They are, and I quote this again coming from Wrestling Inc., engaged in settlement discussions with applicant.
Okay.
Responding to a fan on Twitter, the owner of GCW, Lauderdale, guy's a total fucking goober, by the way. That GCW has never and will never ask for $1 of Tony Khan's money. That's a quote. I don't believe you, Brett Lauderdale.
I bet you he'd take it if he could get it.
Do I believe that Tony Khan's lawyers are better than his lawyers? Yes, I do.
Yeah. I think Tony Khan could afford to get any lawyer he wanted.
Any hoodly boodly.
Raw.
We have
more developments in the ongoing Bloodline storyline.
You want to know my notes for Raw? I didn't take many.
Yeah,
because this show had me half asleep. I won't lie. I was legitimately half asleep watching this show, not because I was tired, because this show was boring.
Mm-hmm.
We got an 11-minute match at the beginning of the show between Kevin Owens and Solo Sikoa. This was a good match until the run-in.
Right.
But again, look at the guys that are in the ring.
Yeah, and then this whole tension between Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens, they're prolonging it.
This is like the most interesting thing on this show, by the way.
Right.
It's like a through line too, which, you know, we appreciate through lines, but my God. Anyway. Yeah. Then we got Bianca Belair versus Carmella. My only notes for this are, this sucks.
Yeah, with Chelsea Green.
Chelsea looked great, but, you know.
He distracts the referee. Bianca still gets the win by pinfall. Then Asuka comes out, sprays the green mist on Chelsea. Here's Asuka is the heel, but you listen to the crowd, she got a bigger pop than any of the other two wrestlers, way bigger than
Bianca got a good size pop
gets.
too. Bianca's over, but Asuka's on another level. Then we get a Sami Zayn Kevin Owens confrontation in the back. This went mostly nowhere. Owens basically told him to crawl back to Roman and just leave him alone.
Right. I want to defeat him, but I don't want to do it with you.
I guess in this case, the enemy of his enemy is not his friend.
Right.
We get the worst.
Oh, God. What was the point of this? I guess it's official now. Dolph Ziggler has become, George South. He has become Barry Horowitz now. Dwayne Gill. All he does is put other people over, and this was horrible. Almost, I like to call him almost because he's almost a wrestler.
No. I'm talking about the segment before this.
Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped one. I apologize.
Logan Boring and Seth Rollins with the, because we didn't talk about this on the show last week, host of WrestleMania, The Miz.
Yes. I guess I didn't take any notes on that because I was bored also. I skipped ahead to the horrible match. Yeah, Miz is going to be the host of WrestleMania, and I'm like, who cares? Big deal.
I'd rather see him wrestle, but that's not a compliment
I hear you.
because he's not good.
He's had good matches in his career, but he's never been one I would call one of my favorites, not by any
And then
means.
we get a match I actually forgot about until you mentioned it. Omos versus Dolph Ziggler. This goes less than a minute. It was over. Almost.
It was bad. It just shows the weakness of this whole push that they're giving to Omos. The word is in the news, if you listen to the news, is that the reason why they booked this was because Brock Lesnar basically refused to work with Bray Wyatt. And after that last stinker of a match we had at the Royal Rumble, I can't blame him.
I wouldn't even call that a match. Then we get a segment with the Maximum Male Models, Baron Corbin, and all I wrote for this is this show sucks.
What do you think, Maximum Male Models, possibly the worst gimmick of the year?
That's what the Observer said.
Oh yeah, well,
anyway,
I guess I agree with them.
We get Heyman in the back with Jimmy Uso.
Right.
Heyman tells him he's confident he'll be able to take out Sami Zayn.
Continuing the drama.
Roman would never have to hear the name Sami again. Again, this is all very good stuff, but it is surrounded by dreck.
Right.
What was not dreck was Johnny Gargano versus Finn Balor.
Yeah, that wasn't too bad. And they all had people at ringside.
This Boston crowd, by the way,
and then Dexter Lumis, of course, backing up Johnny Gargano.
This Boston crowd kind of sucked, but you know, what do you do?
Boston. And we get another run-in from Edge.
Yeah, but Gargano pinned him clean in the middle of the ring, no DQ.
Exactly. So. And I wasn't expecting that.
Oh, they're going to push Johnny.
Good for him. It's good for him.
They're going to push Johnny.
Right. Then we go to Nikki Cross versus Piper Niven.
Before that, we actually get an announcement.
Oh, yeah. What was that announcement?
Despite my hopes and perhaps even speculation that they would not be going back to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, yes.
They've announced that the Queen and King of the Ring, the event is back, which I'm happy about that, but it is going to be in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
But they don't say Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. Every time they said in Jeddah, in Jeddah, in Jeddah, it's like they don't want people to think about the fact that this is taking place in Saudi Arabia.
No
One
shit.
of the most repressive regimes on the planet. They don't want people to think about that, but they still want that money. They want that oil money.
Here comes the money. Oh, boy. Then we go to, and I understand that this would be done in poor taste, but I still think it would be funny, nigh hilarious, if whenever they do these god-awful things in Saudi Arabia, that when the crown douchebag or crown prince or whatever his name is, fuckface down there, whenever he comes out for these events, they should play Shane's theme song because he's got all the money.
Yeah, that's right. Well, it makes me think. You remember Randy Savage when he was in the Spider-Man movie? They called him Bonesaw. And if you keep up with the political developments in Saudi Arabia, the word bonesaw has a special meaning. Maybe they should bring back that gimmick. Bonesaw. The Crown Princes love it.
The Crown Prince also wanted to see Hulk Hogan wrestle not that long ago.
That's right. Well, yeah. And I heard a few years ago he wanted to see Yokozuna versus the Ultimate Warrior after they were both dead.
For some reason, that doesn't entirely shock me.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to this. You know, it usually happens in the middle of the afternoon.
We're not talking about that show for anybody curious.
Yeah, I'm fine with totally skipping it.
I mean, I will tell you the results, but beyond that, Piper Niven beats Nikki Cross in like what, 20 seconds, 50?
This was over way too fast because they're both really good workers. It's another example of how they fill up the show to the brim with Drek. And they got two really good female workers here, and they give them about 2-3 minutes, and it's over.
That's including entrances.
Right. Oh, and then I guess we come to the big hype of the evening.
This was great.
Yeah,
half of this was great.
It was an interesting promo that Cena cut on Austin Theory.
John Cena comes out, and this is the only time this crowd gave a shit all night.
Yeah, isn't it ironic that even with Roman Reigns there, that John Cena is still more over with the WWE fans than any wrestler that they have currently under contract.
I find it also interesting that Roman still draws better ratings than him television-wise. I don't know how that's possible, but it happens every week. Or every time they're both there. So Cena comes out. This is the only time the crowd really gave a shit all night. He's getting emotional, blah, 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 blah. He's standing in the ring. He does his walk around thing. He points at the crowd. He does that thing where he goes like this and smiles. Just the douchiest look ever. Sorry, I've always thought Cena's face was kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Does his face bother you, or is that just me? Anyway.
No, it might be just you.
He goes to talk, and then we hear that dreck of a theme song, A-Town Down. Austin Theory comes out looking like a douchebag.
Yep, he can't look any other way.
I'm not sure if it's his attire or his face. I think it's his face. Anyway.
And his voice kind of cements it.
Yeah. He doesn't suck in the ring, but...
No, he doesn't. He's not bad. But if they want us to hate him, they're doing a good job there.
If they want us to want to punch this man, you're succeeding. Keep going.
He has that slappable face.
No, he has a punchable face. Anyway. He says he has a gift for John Cena. Oh, good God. The gift was a U.S. title match at WrestleMania. Okay. I have a lot of problems with this. First of all, cocksucker. This is what Cena should have said. And pretty much what he did say without the cocksucker part. First of all, cocksucker, you have defended your U.S. title, what? Once every 40 days at best?
That's even worse than Hulk Hogan as champion.
No, it's not that bad, but it's getting there. Anyway. So, Theory goes on and on about how it's a gift and blah, blah, blah. And then Cena comes back with the greatest response ever. He stands there, he thinks about it for a second, and you can see him pondering, and then he doesn't say anything. He just says, no.
No.
And that's it.
That was great. That was great to see him just throw it right back in Theory's face, you know.
He doesn't even look at him. He just kind of looks around and he goes, no.
And then he proceeds in his own way, and the guy can cut a great promo just basically to tell him that, you know, you're not worthy.
This promo was not scripted. If you do not believe me, go watch it. Or at minimum, Cena's bit was not scripted here, and Theory looked absolutely flubbergasted at what was happening.
Yeah. This was the best part of the show.
Cena tore Austin Theory a new asshole.
Yeah, he did. It was great.
Basically says that the crowd doesn't care because he doesn't care, and that he's got no heart. And if you don't think John Cena turned that into a dick joke later, you're wrong. He calls him a Cena wannabe. Goes on and on. Theory makes fun of Cena's bald spot. Cena plays into it. And Cena basically goes on to say, I'm not going to fight you because if I do, you're the one that's going to have to come out here and explain what happened. Either way.
Right.
If
Basically,
I win,
if I wrestle you, it's going to hurt you, not help you.
if I win, you lose everything. If you win, you lose everything, is what he says. And it was great. And then he says, you want it? And then he looks at the crowd and he says, Boston, do you want me to fight him? And Boston goes crazy. So he says, all right, we've made a decision. But you just made the biggest mistake of your life.
You know, it's one of those deals where they book it on the fly, quote unquote, you know, during the promo.
I don't think they booked this on the fly.
Oh, they're trying to make it look like that's the way I'm talking about the storyline, not the reality.
No, I don't think that was the case. I think that what they were trying to do is make Theory look like a douchebag, and it worked. And I would think logic would suggest that Theory is going to win. But here's my thing. If they're bringing in Jay White, and I want everybody to hear me out here because this is going to sound butts to nuts crazy, as I like to say. If they're bringing in Jay White, all right, let's just say they are for the sake of this conversation and this conversation only. I don't know that they are, but if they are bringing in Jay White, wouldn't it not be more beneficial to have John Cena win this thing, go out the next night on Raw, go out there, cut a promo, and then we hear Bullet Club or whatever his new theme is, and the Switchblade walks out there, and the main event of the night after WrestleMania is Jay White versus John Cena for the U.S. title, and Jay White beats him.
Well, it's not unusual for the Monday Night Raw after WrestleMania for there to be a big surprise appearance.
But how much would you lose your shit if on WWE TV, granted, I don't know how they do this, if they played just that one time, just for his debut, Bullet Club for life, and he walks out there. Just play that Bullet Club theme one time. That's all you got to do.
And we get the crowd going.
And Cena would sell it like there's no tomorrow. Yes. We get Chad Gable versus Baron Corbin. This goes 2 minutes, and Gable kills him.
The third very, very short match.
Then we get Becky, Lita, and Trish in the ring. I missed this. So run me through it really quick. I missed this because
Becky Lynch, Lita, and Trish. Damage Control comes out with Bayley talking trash to each other. There was some kind of a challenge made. I didn't see this whole thing either. I missed part of it. I'm not sure if there's a match coming up or not.
I saw a graphic. We have a 6-man or a 6-woman.
Six-woman. That probably on Raw next week.
WrestleMania.
Oh, okay. WrestleMania.
It will be Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus, and Lita against Damage Control.
That sounds like a space filler.
This will be an incredible match if they give it any time whatsoever.
Could be, you know. I know the crowd will be hot for it because they're very excited to have the two veteran women there.
They better let Becky do the bulk of the work, though.
Yeah. The man. then we finally get to our main event.
Sami Zayn versus Jimmy Uso. This was good.
Yes, it was.
But all of this was to lead up to a post-match angle.
Yes. Sami
And
Zayn pinned Jimmy Uso.
which was a surprise in and of itself.
Exactly. And then take it from there.
So Jay comes down, held Jimmy by the shirt, and looked like he was about to cry.
Yeah.
While thinking about what he was about to do. He sold this like $1 million.
He did.
And then he leaves his brother in the ring. He gets out of the ring and he goes towards Sami on the ramp and he looks at him and he says, "I trust you. I'm with you."
Right.
They hug.
And the first thing I'm thinking is this has got to be a swerve.
I was thinking it was going to be a long-term swerve, as in they were going to show us this on Raw and pay it off either next week on Raw, or it would not be like them to wait 2 weeks and then pay it off. But they don't really have that kind of time. So
Right.
within about, I would say, 25 seconds, Sami Zayn's head comes clean off.
Right.
From a super kick from Jey Uso. It was one of the most beautiful super kicks I've seen this year. It was gorgeous. They throw him in the ring. They start beating the hell out of him.
Yep.
Wrestling's got more than one royal family. Here comes the American Nightmare. I almost called him the American Dragon.
That was a surprise to me too.
That wasn't a surprise to me because they've alluded to their friendship in the past, and those two are real life friends. So, we'll see where it goes. I don't know how to feel about this idea that Cody might lose at WrestleMania, because that's kind of been the conversation going around, is that there's this idea that Cody might lose. I want to have that conversation with you before we move on to the other channel here.
Sure.
I want to talk about both sides of that coin. Mostly because, again, we only have 2 more shows to talk about. There wasn't a lot of news. I like to get my full hour and a half, 2 hours worth of show in, so this is how we're going to do it. So, I am of the opinion that both of these guys can afford to lose at WrestleMania, right? Roman for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Cody can afford to lose because Cody has not lost, been pinned, or submitted since he left AEW.
What's your prediction?
I think, and if this was me, I'm not saying this is what I would do, but I think Cody right now is winning. What I would do is I would probably have Roman win. But here's the catch. They're in Puerto Rico a month later at Backlash, as they would announce Friday on SmackDown. They're in Puerto Rico a month later for Backlash. It is no longer WrestleMania Backlash. It is now just Backlash again.
Right.
Thank the heavens above.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have minded if they brought back the Over the Limit pay-per-view.
It's been a while, yeah.
Just because I thought the name was cool. Since it seems like we're doing away with gimmick pay-per-views outside of the Royal Rumble. Which, honestly, if they wanted to do the Royal Rumble at like day 1 or something, they totally could. But they won't, because it won't sell as well. But
I think Cody Rhodes
Roman
will
winning makes more
win.
sense, and here's why. Because I don't think it should be Cody who beats Roman for the title. I think it should be Jey Uso. Here's how that would happen. The Usos will lose at WrestleMania to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. I almost guarantee that. The Usos lose, they're dejected. Roman wins, he's all happy and giddy. Jimmy and Jay get a stick up their ass because they lost their tag titles. You could play this out over the course of several weeks, but the payoff would be SummerSlam. Right. They go to Puerto Rico. It's already announced that Bad Bunny is hosting the show. That's his hometown. Do Roman Reigns versus Bad Bunny, because you know you're going to do it anyway, so you might as well just get it out of the way. I'm just going to be honest. If they're going to do it, they're going to do it there.
Yeah.
Though considering the fact that he's hosting the show, part of me, that's another reason I think Cody's winning, because I think if he wasn't and they were going to be in Puerto Rico, I think it would be Roman Reigns versus Bad Bunny, and I'm not kidding. And I think it would be a good match. But do Roman Reigns versus, hell, Bad Bunny, why not? You might as frickin' well. Bad Bunny can wrestle, you might as well.
Yeah, he can. He doesn't get me too excited, but the guy can work.
It's a filler match. Jay goes out there to interfere. He looks like he's going to help Roman. He tries to help Roman. Bad Bunny ducks a Jay super kick. Jay kicks Roman's head off. And for just that split second, you think Bad Bunny's about to win the Universal title. 1, 2, Roman kicks out.
Yeah.
Gets back up. He's pissed. Hits like 7 spears on Bad Bunny. Just literally kill the guy. Just murder him in Puerto Rico. Why not? Give him a visual pin, but kill him. 1, 2, 3. Roman wins. But he's confused.
And then the bad blood starts in the bloodline.
You could have Roman accuse Jay of that being intentional, and you can build this to SummerSlam where eventually you get to Roman Reigns versus Jay Uso. And I think there's only one way that they would be able to settle this and make sure it stays fair. Keep Owens and Zayn out of the mix, keep the bloodline Solo and Jimmy. Do you want to move Jimmy? I don't think you should, you know. Do you want to move Jimmy with Jay, or do you want to keep Roman and Solo? And you could do a lot there. But to keep everybody out, I think you do Hell in a Cell.
Okay.
I think you do Hell in a Cell, and I think you let them go 35 to 40 minutes. Let them tell their story. And it ends with Jey Uso beating Roman Reigns with his own move, the sleeper. Roman goes to sleep. And Jey Uso is the new Universal Champion until Mr. Money in the Bank, Gunther, comes out, cashes in. Gunther walks out of the arena with the belt.
I like Gunther going over.
I mean, like that. Is that unrealistic?
Well, it probably won't happen, but it sounds good to me. I know that it's good that they got to get that belt off of Roman Reigns somehow. Pretty soon.
Who better to do it?
Yeah.
Jey Uso makes. Have you noticed that Jay hasn't lost like at all? They've been beating Jimmy left and right, but they will not beat Jay.
Yeah.
You got to think there's a reason for that, right?
Oh, well, I hope so. I like to think that there's some thought into the future behind everything they do, but of course that's not the way it works.
I don't know, with Triple H and Paul Heyman seemingly doing the bulk of the booking now, there's a lot of thought going into this.
We keep hearing rumors about Vince McMahon wanting to get back to creative, and let's just hope that those are just rumors and it never happens.
A lot of them are just rumors.
Yep.
Let's talk about AEW. This was a much better show.
Yes, Dynamite wasn't too bad overall.
We got Jay Lethal versus Orange Cassidy for the All-Atlantic title. This was a very good match. Cassidy wins with the Orange Punch. And very good match. And he gets attacked after by Jeff Jarrett. It gets announced later on in the show by Tony Khan himself.
His guitars over his knee, over his bad knee.
It does get announced later on in the show, and I'm not going to go in order with this announcement because I want to talk about it now. That
Yeah,
they are killing the All Atlantic title already.
right. And it's with the name change. Will be the AEW International title, and meaning that they're going to emphasize an international competition. And the first match for the international title will be from Orange Cassidy, who's from New Jersey, and Jeff Jarrett, who's from Tennessee.
And they're going to be in Canada.
And that's right. And they're going to be in Canada. You know, they can at least find a Canadian opponent to make it international. You know, they could call it the North American title then.
Shit, you could do Kenny Omega versus Orange Cassidy.
Yeah.
Not like they're going to give that away on free TV, but.
Right. Well, you know, they are going to be in Winnipeg, I guess. And yeah, well,
Yeah, we'll
let's
talk
hope
about
that
that later.
it really will become an international title. You know, you remember this might have been before your time. I can't remember if it was the Attitude Era. I think it was, but WWE had a European title for a while.
I do remember that.
And it was mostly American wrestlers who held it, you know.
Well, this show immediately gets better because we get Renee Paquette backstage with Powerhouse Hobbs.
Powerhouse Hobbs. I like Hobbs.
I like both of these two.
I'm glad they're finally doing something with Hobbs.
I have a question about this whole, because Blackpool Combat Club is clearly turning heel, right? Like,
yes, most definitely.
You knew that probably coming out of the pay-per-view. I'm not spoiling anything here. I bumped my microphone. I apologize.
Sorry.
But can we turn Renee Paquette heel?
Oh, that'd be interesting, you know. Would have been nice to see her. She could slap the shit out of Hangman Adam Page.
You know what? Why the fuck not? This show goes off the rails on a regular basis anyway. Just have a heel backstage announcer.
Heel announcer. Yeah, they have heel announcers, you know, in the booth. So why not backstage, right?
I mean, you still got Dasha Gonzalez or whatever the hell that geek's name is. And Marvez. God forbid they ever put him on my TV again.
Right.
But tell me Renee Paquette running around with the Blackpool Combat Club as a heel manager would not be the most entertaining thing on TV every week.
Well, that would be interesting. You know, I like Renee.
I still think WWE should have done with something with her, but beyond announcing, whether it was managing or whatever, because she can talk. She's got the mic work. I mean, right. I don't know if she'll work as a heel because I don't know if she can get heat anywhere because she's so fucking over. I mean, she's more over than some of the talent.
Yes, she is.
Which is insane. One thing we didn't talk about, Wardlow got his car broken into.
Right.
This was not an angle. This was not an angle.
I think it is an angle, but maybe, well, let's put it, it looks like it maybe really happened, but they're going to use it as an angle now.
Which I'm okay with that.
Right. Yeah.
I like that. They had to acknowledge it because the belt got stolen.
Right.
This is the second time since this company was founded in 2019 that an AEW title has been stolen.
Right. Jericho was the last time, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, Jericho's limo driver had something to do with that, I guess. I don't know. According to him.
Well, you know, I wouldn't leave the belt. Like, you know, I'd be tempted to take it with me everywhere I went.
They went into a restaurant, I guess, was the story with that. I just saw a clip on that earlier this week. He talked about it, and he was like, it was the craziest. He said, and I quote, "This is the craziest fucking shit you've ever heard, but this is real."
Mm-hmm.
And he goes on to tell this story about how he was coming back from Chicago from All In or All Out, whichever. It was All Out. It was All Out 2019. And he just won the belt and so on and so forth. And he had the belt in his carry-on because he didn't want to check it. And he had the belt in a bag in the back of this car that he got because they chartered a plane from Chicago to Orlando, from Chicago to Florida and back. So, and he tells the story better than I can. Maybe we can link that video down in the comments. I'm going to try to link that video if we can pin that comment. Just to show what I'm referring to here, because he tells the story a whole lot better than I can. And he basically says that they go into the steakhouse, and this driver at one point comes in, and Jericho thinks it's weird that the driver got out of the car and came into the steakhouse while they're eating. But they go back to the car, and the belt's gone.
Right.
And it turns up a couple weeks later at the police station, and the guy says he found it in a bag on the side of the road.
Right. Yeah.
No, what Jericho thinks happened is the limo driver left it unlocked, walked away from the car, and let his buddy take it. And when the heat picked up, because they realized, oh shit, we stole a frickin' real title belt, we can't sell this thing.
Exactly.
Because they didn't have replicas at the
They're
time.
not cheap. They're not cheap either. I know those belts are worth
and
a
here's
couple
the thing.
$1,000.
They hadn't made replicas of those belts yet.
Yeah.
So we get next that, well, Hobbs basically vows to win the TNT title. Then we get Ricky Starks. And Starks alludes to the fact that he might be leaving the company.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what was up with that.
Which I thought was
where am I going to? Well, it looks like we know where his next feud is going to be, because the Bullet Club music
Are
hits.
they building Forbidden Door already? That's kind of what this felt like.
That's possible. I don't know a whole lot about Juice Robinson.
Great worker.
Yes, he is. I've just seen a couple of matches of his. He literally has a baby face. I mean, he has a very youthful looking face. I'm sure he's older than what he looks like.
And that Bullet Club music gets the crowd to pop every time, doesn't it?
Right.
Doesn't matter who it is. That Bullet Club music does something to people. Tony Schiavone backstage with Wardlow.
Right. And that's when Wardlow says he wants to make it a falls count anywhere, anything goes match.
I want to point out Wardlow's wearing an FTR shirt.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
This was great. Renee is in the ring.
Yes. And here comes Ruby Soho.
Ruby's music is great.
Right. Rancid.
And the story of how she got that is really awesome. I'm not going to retell that story because if you haven't heard it,
that shows you how wealthy Tony Khan is, that he could actually afford to.
No, Rancid gave that to her for free.
Oh, they did. Okay, I thought he would, because the music rights are very, very expensive.
No, she did a podcast with them because one of the guys from Rancid has a podcast, and those two are friends. And basically, what happened is, they told the story is basically that wherever she goes next, she was going to be able to use the Ruby Soho name because they own the trademark to that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what people don't know. Rancid owns the trademark to Ruby Soho.
Yeah.
Or they did. I think they gave it to her, but they also own Destination Unknown, which is her music. And they said, not only are you going to be Ruby Soho wherever you want to go next, but you can use Destination Unknown, and we're not going to charge you for it. So that whole thing happens. They knew she was going to AEW, so they'd already talked to Tony. Right. But it wasn't public that she was going to AEW yet, because you remember she was a surprise in All Out 2021 in that Battle Royal.
She has a match with Sky Blue.
This was this was short.
Yes, it was too short. Once again, I think.
But goddamn, Sky Blue can work.
Yeah, she's good. I just wish we could get to see her for a little longer.
Can we start a campaign for her to be the one to beat Athena for that ROH title?
That'd be all right. Yeah.
Give her Madison Rayne as a manager. Because I love Sky Blue, but this poor girl can't talk worth a freaking lick. There's a reason she doesn't talk. It's because she can't. She's not
Yeah.
good.
Well, not everybody has that gift.
Hell, you know what? Let me and you manage Sky Blue. We'll probably have the title on her next week.
Oh,
Anyway,
there you go. Well, then we get Tony Storm and Soraya
these three
coming
have
in.
heat, and I'm not sure.
Yeah, they do. They really have heat. And then Will runs in, and they attack her, and they spray paint them both. But you remember the Outsiders was with the NWO, and they spray painted. Well, now they're spray painted again, and now they're going to call themselves the Outcasts.
I don't mind this mostly because of who's in it.
Yeah,
It's three people who
right.
are very
Not the
smart
most
about the
original
business.
idea in the world, but it's interesting. I like it better with Ruby in there.
It fits better with three people, I'll be honest.
I agree.
Now, let's not expand it to half the effing roster.
Exactly.
Tony.
Please don't.
Oh, boy.
All right, you want to talk about this next interview segment with Renee?
Renee is all over this show.
Yes, she is. She was
I'm
on
okay
a
with
lot.
it. I'm okay with it because it's, she was all over Revolution's pre-show too. She was like that's what she did in WWE though. Uh, who knows? She's so
Interesting,
awesome.
interesting interview with Hangman, Adam Page.
They kind of alluded to Renee turning heel here. I know we've kind of joked about it earlier, but they kind of alluded to it. Hangman basically says that he's finished with Jon Moxley.
Yeah. That doesn't mean Jon Moxley's finished with him.
Something we've learned about Jon Moxley over the years is you can be done with him all you want, but if he wants to beat the hell out of you, guess what?
He's going to do it.
If he wants to just, find you and
he's going to and 9 times out of 10 he's going to come out on top, and he's going to get color.
And 9 times out of 10 you're going to feel it for the next 6 months.
Yeah.
Then we get MJF
Yes.
immediately following his Iron Man match. He basically MJF is so good. He says that people who thought Danielson could beat him should get their brain cells checked.
Right.
This guy's great.
Right. I guess we're going to find out what a rebar mitzvah is.
My guess, this is going to lead to the reformation of the Pinnacle, but I don't know that.
That could be, because that really didn't work out so great the first time.
No, it worked fine. They just killed it for no apparent reason. Then we get Tony Schiavone in the ring.
Yes.
With FTR.
This was great.
You're going to notice there wasn't really anything bad on this show.
Right.
This show did not have anything necessarily bad on it.
The crowd reaction to FTR was over the top too. I think they're getting even bigger pop than the Acclaimed,
Man, I'll tell you what. The Acclaim needed those belts to stay over.
Yeah.
The
now
way
they're
they got
on the back. It feels like they're kind of on the back burner now. They're wrestling on Rampage.
I mean, but here's the thing: they need something for Rampage, and I guess they're it.
For now, yeah. But it's great to see FTR back. The rumor is that they are in a long-term contract with AEW, that they won't be going back to WWE. I guess we'll see for sure. But even in that short little promo they did, they were really, really over with the crowd.
And they basically said that they were going to kill the Guns. They did not mince words.
Yeah, they'd be fine. Get rid of them. Send them away for a while.
FTR were talking a lot like Hitmen in this promo.
Right.
We get Renee Paquette again.
Exactly, with your favorite female wrestler of all time. Jade.
If I could reach through the screen just to smack you right now, I think I might.
Oh, I know you would. I know you would.
Anyway, Jade
She's still
Cargill.
green. She's still green after what, 2 years now?
I don't know.
She's got like 55-0 as a record, and she still looks green in the ring. I mean, she looks good, but her wrestling hasn't improved as much as one might hope.
Fun fact, she's also married to former Cincinnati Reds all-star Brandon Phillips.
Oh, good deal. All right. Well, you know, there has been a lot of interview segments and a lot of promos. I wrote after this Jade Cargill segment, this is where it's a little bit more like WWE. We're an hour into the show, we've only had 2 matches, which is unusual for AEW. But
here's the thing, though, I'm okay with it.
Has been a great show.
But here's the thing, I'm okay with it because they're coming out of a pay-per-view.
Could be, yeah. There's a lot of good storylines going on.
They had a lot they had to kind of tie up here.
Right.
And Jade issues an open challenge, but she wants somebody Canadian.
Right. Any speculation on who that might be?
Well, I'm going to confirm this.
All right.
But never mind. I was going to say Madison Rain. I thought she was from Canada. She's from Ohio. Okay. Which might as well be Canada. They could do one of about a million things here. They could bring in somebody from the outside. They could. I don't know. Who is Canadian that's a female on their roster?
I can't think of any right offhand, and I didn't bother to do the research.
Hold on. Let's look. Let's just look at their roster really quick. Obviously, there's 101 females that are from Canada in just AEW, probably. Okay, we're looking here. We're looking.
All right.
Anna Jay is from Georgia, so that doesn't work. I can't remember where Athena's from. Britt Baker's from Pittsburgh. Where's the bunny from?
Where's Chris Statlander from?
That's a good question.
Because the bunny, you know, we haven't seen her in a while.
The bunny is from Toronto, so that is possible.
Oh, that could be, yeah.
Chris Statlander?
Yeah.
New York.
Okay. I know she got injured and she's gone for a while, but I miss her because she was really starting to get better and better in the ring when she got hurt.
Let's keep going through the roster here.
Let's go. Okay, yeah.
Emi Sakura, Japan. Hikaru Shida, also Japan. Jade Cargill, not Canada. I don't remember where she's from, but she's the one issuing the challenge. Jamie Hayter, England.
England, yeah.
Julia Hart, right outside of Duluth. So she's
right.
I mean, they could call her Canadian. She's from very North Minnesota.
Right.
Chris Statlander, New York. We just covered that. Leva Bates doesn't wrestle. Layla Hirsch is from Russia. Madison Rain, who I thought was from Canada, is from Columbus, Ohio. Where's Mercedes Martinez from? Isn't she Latin American?
I think so, but
Connecticut.
Yep, Latin America, Connecticut.
That is not Canada. Nyla Rose. She's American from DC. Paige Van Zant might be from Canada. No, she's American.
Okay. Well, just one Canadian so far, and that was who?
The Bunny.
The Bunny, okay. I don't look for her to win that title, but that could be, or they could surprise us and bring in somebody that we haven't even thought about yet.
I'm trying to think of who the hell they're going to bring in. Where's Jordan Grace from? Is she from Canada? No. Who? Wait. Wait, am I stupid? Am I stupid? No, I'm not stupid. Okay. I'm trying to think. Wait a second. Wait.
Okay.
Right. Damn it, that doesn't work. I was going to say Deanna Parazzo's an option, but she's from New Jersey.
Haven't seen her in a while, have we?
She's on Impact. She's not AEW talent.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
So we've gone through pretty much everyone here. And nobody makes sense. So I have no clue who that's going to be. Let's go back to this show.
Right. Trios.
We get the JAS, as I call them, Jericho Appreciation Society, against Top Flight and AR Fox, who is effectively part of Top Flight now. This was a good match.
Yes.
We get a post-match promo. Basically, the Jericho Appreciation Society say they're the #1 contenders for the trios titles. Jericho calls out the House of Black. The lights go out, but it's not the House of Black. We get Carry On My Wayward Son.
Right.
I don't care how you feel about the Young Bucks. That song is fucking great.
Yes. Great band.
And they basically say they're the #1 contenders, and they go on and on. And then the lights go out again, and then now we get the House of Black in between these two teams. So the Elite are at the top of the ramp, Jas is in the ring, and the House of Black are down on the base of the ramp. And
And then we get with Don Callis cutting off Kenny Omega. Before that, my favorite line of the whole show goes to Chris Jericho talking to Don Callis. Says, "Get your wormy ass into this ring." And Don Callis says, "Chris, you're only the second best wrestler from Winnipeg. And if I trained for a couple of months, you'd be the third best." That was a great exchange. That made me laugh. Both of them did, and I love it when you refer to somebody calling "get your wormy ass."
My favorite thing was after this whole thing was over and it gets announced that we're getting a 3-way trios match next week, which is going to be a clusterfuck.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good match, but it'll be a clusterfuck. I hope they close the show with that. And before the House of Black leave, Kenny screams something to the effect of, "You weevil ass freaks."
Yeah.
Kenny Omega is great.
Yep.
And then we get Tony Khan.
Yes.
Announcing the thing that we already talked about.
The title name change. And apparently they're tied. Money's changing hands because they're tied into Warner Brothers promoting the new Shazam movie, and which really, as a comic book nerd, that really pisses me off. I still call him Captain Marvel, and he's never going to be Shazam to me. And Warner Brothers owns DC, but they're doing a movie promo along with this, so there's got to be some money being made. At least it's not Mountain Dew or Cinnamon Toast Crunch,
Then we get the best Bryan Danielson promo you've ever seen.
That was amazing. Very, very intense.
He looks like he just went to war. He's dejected. He can't believe he lost.
Everything that MJF said about me was right. I was putting myself before my family.
And he said it's time to go home.
We'll see what
Man,
happens. It was a fascinating promo.
great promo, but Meltzer talked about this on the Observer this week, and I don't like to give Meltzer too much shine because, well, smart guy, but he's full of shit.
Has been for a long time.
Amen, brother.
He's more full of shit than Ric Flair, and that's bad.
No, he's not more full of shit than Ric Flair. Nope. Russ, do you understand what you just said? That's not the only person I've ever seen be more full of shit than Ric Flair, other than Jim Cornette, who is a douchebag all onto his own. Fucking Hulk Hogan is the biggest fucking lion.
I didn't mean to
shit.
I didn't mean to get you off on a tangent there.
No,
anyway,
that was worth it. That'll get us some clicks. Be sure to tweet that clip. Tweet this too. Fuck you, Hulk Hogan. This show's gonna get demonetized. I don't care. Anyway, so
going back to the
Meltzer made a good point. He's
time
like,
to go home.
Meltzer made a good point. He's like, yeah, Danielson says this, and then the announcers basically say one sentence about it and then act like it never happened.
Yeah, well, I don't think we've seen the last of him, but
no, neither do I. But they should have sold it. They just no-sold this shit.
Yeah,
I agree with Meltzer.
They just keep on moving right along, you know.
Then we get Moxley and Claudio versus Reynolds and Silver.
Yeah, the Dark Order was an interesting finish too. John Moxley and Claudio. Well, John Moxley submitted. Was it Reynolds? Yeah.
Yes, and then he didn't let go.
Yeah, the total heel turn, which is not a big distance for him to turn heel, because even when he was a baby face, he acted like a heel, talked like a heel, wrestled like a heel. But it's definitely a heel turn for the Blackpool Combat Club.
Does this mean he's going to get color more
from Blackpool?
Is he going to get color more? No, you know what Moxley should really do if he really wants to go heel? Not get any color at all. Oh.
Yeah.
The heat he'd get.
Well, then we get the three-way beatdown. They're just beating the hell out of these guys, and here comes our old buddy Evil Uno.
What the fuck was Evil Uno doing in this segment?
I don't know. He just ran in and was.
This is like a main event.
Got John Moxley's face for a while, and then Hangman comes in, who he just told us, just a few minutes ago that he was done with John Moxley, but yet he had to run in here and get involved with John Moxley and his buddies.
No, they said on commentary he may be done with John Moxley, but that doesn't mean he's done with the Blackpool Combat Club.
Well, I don't think Moxley's done with him either, like I said, so.
They're going to beat the hell out of each other. They've kind of got that we're destined to do this forever thing. Renee Paquette again.
Yes, with the Acclaimed.
This sucked. This was the worst segment on the show. This was the worst Acclaimed segment I've seen in a long time. Basically, they do an interview talking about what's next. They're cut off by Menard and Parker, and they tell them that they want them to join JAS. And the Acclaim laugh in their face. This was dumb. This was to set up a match. This didn't need to exist. Anyway, we got Hobbs versus Wardlow in a Falls Count Anywhere match for the TNT title. This was insane.
Starts backstage.
Starts backstage. They're fighting all over the place. They're breaking car windows. They're breaking everything. They eventually end up brawling pretty much everywhere. And this was a brawl. This was not really a match. This was a brawl. This was a elongated angle.
Hey, your volume, is there something issue with your volume here? I can barely hear you.
Is that better?
Oh, yes, thank you.
So we get basically a brawl. And the finish here is how do I put this nicely? A fuck show? QT Marshall is back.
I thought it was Marshall.
Marshall. Marsh, get off my TV.
Yeah, he's talking about keeping his word, the Hobbs, and I
guess he said this months ago.
I don't remember it. That's how memorable it was.
Anyway, he low blows Wardlow. And yes. Classic heel win with the 10 count for Hobbs. Slams him onto the crash pad.
It's not like Hobbs, but I thought they'd keep the belt on Wardlow just a little bit longer. It looks like they're trying to bury Wardlow, doesn't it? You'd think.
I mean, Hobbs is also the more interesting character of the two.
Yeah.
Next week on Dynamite, we got Orange Cassidy versus Jeff Jarrett for the international title. I almost called it the Intercontinental.
Yeah.
House of Black versus the Elite versus Jazz for the trios titles. And the re-bar mitzvah of MJF. I would presume that we are going to get more than one Kenny Omega segment next week. Because they are in Winnipeg. And I don't think that it's all going to involve the House of Black. I think they're going to do something a little more oomphy. Potentially, you know how I think this whole thing with Hangman and Mox probably ends? I think Hangman's going to end up rejoining the Elite. And it'll be blood and guts, and it'll be the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club. That is my prediction.
Blood and Guts being the name of the pay-per-view, correct?
Blood and Guts being the name of their War Games is usually a TV special. So that is Dynamite. Let's talk about Uncle Russ's comic show.
Yes. Every week, Uncle Russ's Comic Shop. I've got comic books for sale. I also talk about comic books and graphic novels from my own collection. There's always something interesting going on there. Here, this last current episode going up this next week, we're going to be talking about Batman and Fantastic Four. We'll also be talking about some Superman comics from the 1970s for sale, and some recent acquisitions to my library graphic novels. Uncle Russ's Comic Shop on Lock 22 on YouTube.
Go check it out. Give it a like, a comment, and don't forget to turn on your notifications when you subscribe to Lock 22 to not only miss an episode, not only never miss, don't want to miss anything on this channel, of course, but
also Puck University.
Yes, Puck University. Hockey. Gobo and Tom talking about hockey. I do want to move on.
Yes.
Slightly. Before we talk about SmackDown, I have a problem with the way they did things this week. So as all of you know, March Madness is going on.
Right.
And I guess in certain markets, this resulted in SmackDown getting preempted.
Well, SmackDown was preempted in my market, but it was for the Iowa State boys high school basketball championship, not March Madness. High school
Hang
basketball
on, what?
tournaments in Iowa. Um, the the boys and girls high school basketball championships in Iowa are now and always have been a very, very, very big deal. It's a ratings draw. It's smart if you're a local programmer because I guarantee you they got better ratings with that than they would have with SmackDown. That's just the reality of it.
Maybe in market, yes.
Yeah, I'm talking in market because I get that from a local affiliate.
I still think it's goofy that in one particular market they preempt SmackDown.
Yes, they do.
That's a little silly. So SmackDown was not preempted for me, but I did not watch it all live. I watched most of it live. I actually taped like the first half hour. I taped the whole show because I tape every show, but I watched the first half hour late, hoping I wouldn't have to watch any commercials. My plan worked for 90% of the show before the final segment.
Okay, yeah. We had I like I missed the very what if they talked at the beginning. I missed that. I began the show, join in progress. We have the 6 guys wrestling to be the
5.
number 1 contender for the U.S. title. Not sure what I missed at the beginning of the show. Did I miss anything important?
They did a recap package for the thing from Monday that we talked about 45 minutes ago now.
Right.
And Heyman greets the Usos in the parking lot, and Jay asks for the tribal chief. Heyman shrugs it off, gives him a hug. Jay told Heyman to let Roman know I'm here. Da da da. Kayla tries to ask him why he turned on Sammy. Jay says he's going to address it in the ring later on in the show. Then we get a fatal 5-way number 1 contenders match. Drew, Sheamus, LA Knight, Xavier, and Karrion Kross.
Right.
This was very good.
Kofi was at ringside too, was he not?
Yes. I want to know why Kofi wasn't in this match.
Well, I was my understanding that he was injured.
That's a shame.
Yeah, because that would be if that's true, that means 2 out of the 3 guys in New Day are injured and out. So,
I mean, not like either one of those guys were going to win this, but. So Drew and Sheamus get a double pin for the finish, and they announce that next week it will be Drew and Sheamus for a number 1 contenders match because Gunther was pissed.
do you think there still will end up going with a 3-way match?
I think they should.
I think that would be great. But we'll see how they handle this on next Friday on SmackDown. Sheamus, I think he might be finishing up before too long. And it would be great for him to have a match at WrestleMania. But Drew is out.
I would be in favor, even if it's temporary, of having Sheamus be the one to beat Cody for the title. If that's where they're going.
You mean Gunther?
No, Sheamus. And then Gunther beat him.
Okay, yes.
Just for an excuse for us to get Gunther and Sheamus again.
Yeah.
Any excuse I can have for Gunther and Sheamus too, I'm going to find it.
Yeah, because as JR would say, that would definitely be a slobber knocker.
It was the first time.
Oh, yes.
Because what was great about that is I think Triple H basically told everybody backstage to just get the hell out of their way and let them fight.
Yeah, but they did, man. It was great.
That was also the night Vinci and Kaiser returned.
What was that?
That was also the night that Vinci and Kaiser came back and they reformed Imperium.
Right, right. And you notice how Gunther has really slimmed down. He's lost quite a bit of weight since he first showed up.
I think he's muscled up.
Oh, definitely, yeah. It looks like he's been hitting the gym.
So we get Kayla Braxton backstage with Paul Heyman. She wanted answers to all the pertinent questions, of which she got none of them.
Right. It's always entertaining to hear Paul Heyman talk.
And then we finally, I feel like 6 months later than usual, but it was really only about 8 weeks, really only about 6 weeks later. We get the first inductee into the 2023 WWE Hall of Fame.
I was wondering when they'd get around to it.
It is announced that they are inducting an active competitor. This was only a matter of time. Rey Mysterio.
He didn't get to say much, did he, in response?
Can I ask why we're inducting Rey?
Well, I was wondering about inducting active wrestlers in the Hall of Fame,
I
That
mean, Edge went in, but Edge was not active.
Not at that time, no. Maybe it's just a sign that Rey Mysterio is done in the ring, Although,
He's wrestling
everybody,
Dominic at WrestleMania, clearly.
I mean, yeah, everybody wants him to beat the piss out of his kid.
The way you said that. You just said that so matter of factly.
Yeah, well, that's what we want to see. We want to see him just whip that kid.
Well, he comes out there and he's very quickly cut off by Judgment Day.
Mm-hmm.
I know she didn't do much in this segment, but Rhea Ripley is great.
Yeah.
Her presence just adds something to everything.
She does. She looks fantastic.
And they start coming out and they start saying that Rey doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. The only Hall of Fame he belongs in is the what is it? What did he say?
Dead beat dad, Hall of Fame. Oh yeah.
Dominic.
I should have been Eddie's kid.
I should have been Eddie's kid. What a fucking.
That was a low blow. Because a lot of fans might remember when Dominic was a young child, they did a really, really tasteless angle that was a custody angle.
Great match came out of it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But boy, I tell you, man, that was really in bad taste.
Everything they did from of
course, that was the Attitude Era. It was all in bad taste.
Everything they did from 97 up to about 2007 was poor taste at best.
Yeah.
This leads to Judgment Day versus Legado del Fantasma, which I guess was going to happen anyway, so they just did it here because why not?
That's right, and that's Santos and I can never remember the other
Joaquin Wilde and Cruz del Toro.
Joaquin Wilde,
Cruz del Toro as well.
What's the other one?
Cruz del Toro, and this was a great match.
Used to be Paul Mendoza.
I think so.
And that's right. Is that the same guy or is that a different?
You're catching
used to be
me.
A guy named Paul. I know that group has undergone some changes, and yeah, I haven't seen a lot of their more recent work, but it was pretty good against Damian Priest, Finn Balor, and Dominic, in which we saw Dominic win by pinfall.
Well, they have to give Dominic some clean wins here because he is going to be facing Rey at WrestleMania. They did not announce that on this show, but they very highly hinted at it.
Oh, they're definitely teasing it.
And, we talk about this brand split, right? Have you noticed that the Judgment Day just kind of ignores it?
They just show up wherever they want, every show.
They could show up on NXT next week, and I
I was
don't.
just thinking the same thing. I wouldn't
I,
be surprised.
although that NXT crowd, if Rhea's music hit down there, they'd
They'd
blow
go
their top.
nuts. Yeah.
They'd blow their top.
That'd be
Or
like
Finn
welcome
Balor,
home, welcome home.
or Finn Balor, or Priest for that matter. The only one that never worked down there was Mysterio.
Right.
Either Mysterio. Well, Ray would have.
Correct.
You get the point. Anyway, Dominic says he wants a one-on-one man-to-man with his father. This basically leads to Dominic again telling Ray to hit him. Ray won't do it. He shoves Ray. He shoves Ray. He goes to charge at Ray and hit a clothesline. Ray ducks it. Dominic goes ass over tea kettle. And that was that. Then we get the Viking Raiders versus Ricochet and Braun Strowman. Snore.
Exactly.
I'd like to start a new gimmick on this show. I wanted to fast forward this more than anything in the rest of the week. You get one a week. One segment that you wanted to fast forward.
I can't get excited about Ricochet and Braun Strowman as a tag team.
I can get excited about Ricochet, but Braun Strowman just
as a singles wrestler, I think Braun Strowman, he started off strong, but at some point in my mind, he turned into a complete goof. And I've never gotten past that.
I think some of it's his backstage attitude. Well, the Viking Raiders went clean in the middle of the ring. This shouldn't surprise you.
Right.
We get Imperium backstage. As I noted, Gunther is pissed. You ever notice that when Gunther gets mad at Adam Pearce, he doesn't really like scream or yell?
He doesn't have to. He looks intimidating.
He just looks at him and he says, I think you're an idiot.
Yep. So we get so next week.
He basically tells him, dude.
We'll get Sheamus and Drew McIntyre next week when they're in Kansas City.
This was great. He basically looks at him and he says, dude, you had one job. Get me a challenger, not two.
Mm-hmm.
Why were there two referees out there to begin with? You're a fucking idiot. And he walks out.
Exactly.
This was great. Then we get not great. Candidate for worst segment of the week, Charlotte versus Shotzi. This sucked.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Shotzi's always got her stupid little toy tank, which I think is idiotic. And Charlotte Flair, she's boring. I know her father thinks she's the greatest.
I don't mind either one of these two, but here's the thing. I'm very much the proponent of the old-fashioned style of the champion should not be wrestling this close.
Right.
Because imagine, God forbid, Charlotte gets hurt here.
Right. Then we wouldn't get to see her lose to Rhea Ripley, which I'm hoping will happen.
What do you do if Charlotte gets hurt?
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason this match wasn't great, is I think they told her to take it easy because they don't want her getting hurt right before Mania.
Yeah, and Charlotte Flair, she's all right, but man, I'm really so over her. I know her dad still thinks she's the greatest female wrestler of all time. But as we said before, that man is completely delusional.
No, I mean,
I got to respect him for taking up for his kid, but come on. Greatest of all time? No, not even close.
I can name 5 women's wrestlers wrestling right now who are better than her.
Oh, yeah. It wouldn't be hard.
Becky Lynch, Bayley. 2 easy ones. Rhea. I think.
Yes.
Shit. She's not even the best women's wrestler on her own brand. Forget of all time. Tegan Nox, I think, is better than her.
How about Asuka?
Asuka?
Yeah.
Jamie Hayter?
Mm-hmm.
Anna Jay?
Yeah. Britt Baker.
It's Ruby Soho?
Yeah.
Shit, what are we at now? 9 or 10? At least? Oh,
Yeah.
Bianca?
But I think that if Charlotte retains the title at WrestleMania, the fans are going to throw a fit.
Charlotte retains the title at WrestleMania. I'm not watching SmackDown anymore. I'm kidding. I have to watch SmackDown.
Right.
I do this. So anyway,
then we get a little promo for Rhea Ripley and Charlotte kind of going at each other.
This was good.
Mm-hmm.
This kind of drummed up excitement for a match that is getting a rather cold build. But then we get the only thing anyone really actually cared about other than the 5-way at the start of this show, which was the bloodline angle. The Usos are out there. I want to know, Solo Sikoa did not show his face on this show.
No, he didn't.
Did someone tell Solo Sikoa he's on Raw?
Right.
Is Solo Sikoa on the Raw brand now?
I can tell you. I don't usually keep too close attention as to who belongs on which show because the brand split is
because it doesn't matter
by anyway. So why should I pay any attention to it? If they don't take it seriously, why should I?
I think that they're going to start paying attention to it after Mania.
Yeah, well, if they will for a little while, but it doesn't last long.
No, here's the thing. I think the big reset's coming after Mania. I've had this theory for a while that Hunter is waiting for a big reset until after Mania because he needs to tie up everything that's going on. And he knows that. He knew he needed to finish this bloodline thing before he shakes things up. Because
we finished with Jimmy and Jay.
Well, Jimmy and Jay specifically explain their reasoning. And then we get another surprise. Cody Rhodes shows up unannounced in the last 5 minutes of the show. Probably good they did not promote him, because if they did and he only showed up in the last 5 minutes of the show, people would have been pissed. But Cody's music gets a bigger pop than Cody.
Yes, yeah. I hear you.
Cody's song is great. Down Straight, however, I'm not a big fan of. That's who sings Cody's music, for those who don't know. How do I explain this to people? They don't listen to me anyway. So Cody comes out. He basically tells the Usos to shut up because nobody wants to hear them talk. He basically told them to know their role and shut their mouth without the swagger and bravado. And he said that they don't want to hear these guys talk. They want to see them fight. Rhodes starts taking his suit off. You ever notice that every time Cody comes out for a talking segment, he has to wear a suit?
Right. He sure does.
Does he realize he's not an executive anymore?
I don't know.
Do we have to
like it, I guess.
I mean, I don't have a problem with it. It's old fashioned, but I like it.
Yeah, it makes him look like a stiff.
I mean, he is a stiff. Why are you surprised?
Yeah. He looks like a total square.
Well, first of all, he's Dustin's brother. Like, let's get that out of the way.
Yeah.
Second of all, he is our future world champion.
Yeah, I believe so.
And by current storytelling logic, he may be the next tribal chief. Uh,
Yeah, could be.
can you freaking imagine if they tried to pull that shit?
Well,
Cody, Cody's heel turn as he tries to infect the bloodline.
or take over.
Can you imagine?
Well, they've done things that stupid before, but I don't think they will this time.
Different Booker. Anyway,
Yes.
then we get a giant brawl. Rhodes goes into the ring for a fight. Sammy comes out, they clear the ring. Cody's music plays, they end the show.
There you go.
That was all the shows for this week. We did not talk about Ring of Honor because I didn't see it.
Yeah, I did. I did see it. It was the majority of the show was tag teams.
Nothing wrong with that.
There was relevant to we've seen a little bit more of the heel turn of the Blackpool Combat Club because let's see, I'm trying to take a look at my notes here. There was one thing I noted about that.
I do want to
That
know.
was Willow Nightingale versus Athena, and Athena retained the championship.
Big shocker.
We also got to see. I think the best match of the show was Wheeler Yuta versus Timothy Thatcher. That was very good. That was very
I
good.
need to go back and watch Ring of Honor, if only for that match.
Yeah, and we had a very, very short match. Eddie Kingston against Ben Deho. A real quick match and a good promo by Eddie.
Fucking who?
Ben Deho. I'm not making this up. Ben Deho.
Tony.
Yeah.
Are you sure it wasn't Bandito?
It was Ben and the last name Dejo. I think I had to be making a little joke there, yeah, but yeah.
What the fuck?
Oh, I was. Oh, and they opened up with Samoa Joe defending the World TV Championship against Tony Deppen. Mark Briscoe made an open challenge. They're going to do something with the tag team matches. He wants to. They got a pay-per-view coming up on the 31st, Super Card of Honor. Apparently, they're going to have a either a battle royal or a turn. No, I'm sorry. There's going to be a ladder match for the Ring of Honor tag team titles. That was Mark Briscoe's proposal. And also, we got to see a 6-man match with Dalton Castle and the boys. And a boring promo from the Kingdom. They're doing promos all the time. Don't ever see them wrestle yet. So all in all, it wasn't too bad a show, but I said it's almost entirely tag team matches.
Well, we'll see if that keeps going.
But if you take a look at it, I think the standout was definitely Wheeler Yuta versus Timothy Thatcher. Timothy Thatcher had a match or two on AEW that was very, very good.
He was also great in NXT.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very good worker.
So, that's the show, folks.
That's it.
I don't have any crazy sign off this week. We're going to be back to normal again next week. We are normal this week. We're going to be normal next week.
Take it a little bit later than usual due to travel situations and weather situations and such as that.
And I lost my voice for a good day and a half.
I'm glad your voice is held out for this show.
Barely. So we have this coming week, the 19th, which is next Sunday, the 26th, and then WrestleMania.
Right. Seems to be coming up fast. And, it seems awful close to the actual date of WrestleMania, and the card seems to be only about half developed at this point. You know, they don't really do the long build that they used to.
They're doing the long build, but they're not announcing the matches as early.
Right. I mean, they can go too far the other way, you know, they can build something for a year like they did with Cena and The Rock, but
I actually thought that was
that was
good.
ridiculous.
I actually liked that.
You like that? I thought it was
I
too
didn't
much.
like how they started it because it fucked with the main event of WrestleMania. And it, first of all, Miz and Cena never should have been the main event of WrestleMania.
Yeah.
But so, Russ, I know we're on the air, but this is one of the only times during the week that me and you actually get to talk. So I want to run this by you and maybe we can get audience feedback. I want to start doing retro reviews on weeks like this where we have kind of the normal flow. We wouldn't do it like we would do our normal reviews. This is, again, just me pitching an idea, and I want you to think about it, and I want the audience to think about it. We'd pick a show, preferably an old pay-per-view, preferably. We'd review it like we do our normal shows. Takes about a half hour.
Yeah.
Do we like? Do we dislike?
All right.
Let us know in the comments.
That's what I'd be interested to hear. Yeah. And give us some feedback in the comments section.
And we could theme it too. We could theme it like if it's, you know, WrestleMania season, we could review old WrestleManias. You know, obviously we're not going to do that this year because WrestleMania is right around the corner. And me and Russ would need some time to think about how we want to structure it. We probably only do one a month.
We can watch some old black and white Gorgeous George matches from the Dumont Network back in the 1950s.
Where the hell are we going to find those?
YouTube.
Also, I just noticed, are you wearing a Sami Zayn shirt?
No.
Oh, well, I totally thought that was like
this
a really
some fraternity. I didn't belong to it. I just picked up the shirt secondhand. I think it was at Goodwill.
For a second, all I saw was the red lettering, and I was just like, are you wearing a Sami Zayn shirt?
No, this makes me look like I went to college, you know, which I did for a while. You know, so some people flunk out of college, some people drop out. I've actually done both.
Nice. That's an achievement.
There you go.
I mean, technically we both went to college for a while, but look where we ended up. We ended up in the same fucking place. So
there you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I hope no kids watch this show for how much we say the F word.
Well, you cuss more than I do now. Come on now. You're a bad influence on me.
Okay. Okay, but the Royal Rumble, I remember you cussed more than I did. All right.
Oh yeah. I probably did.
And you know, a couple weeks ago, I can't remember what it was, but there was some shitty segment where you were not happy.
Oh man, that happens a lot with modern wrestling. It really does.
Are you sure it's just modern wrestling?
Well, maybe it's just life in general.
You know, I'm pretty sure we could do a show on like another mutual interest of ours, and we would still find something to be genuinely angry about.
Probably so, you know.
At any rate, you have listened to me and Russ bitch for an hour and a half.
It's been good. It's been fun.
More bitching next week.
Yes, and we're looking forward to it.
As always, you've been watching Two Marks and a Spark here on the Lock 22 YouTube channel, as always. That's Russ. I'm Ben. For Damon Marvin, our producer, and everybody here at Lock 22. Have a great week, everybody. We'll see you next week.